Do you need anything else, Brain? Guys, take turns. We're going to try to lie on top of Paul. We were skating.
You taking her for a walk? Hi, Jeff.
What?
Oh man!
Let me see.
Down there. Okay, guys, ready? Hang on. Line up. Timber, Matthew, ready? Line. Set. Hut. Oh, who's got the ball?
Hi.
Hi. Line. Set. And hut. Line. Set. Hut.
Well, gang, I think it's time for some stories.
Sorry, guys.
The wise man likes to see what we do when we follow stars and end up in mangers. Number one thing we do is that the wise men, and wise men of all ages have done this, when they get to a stable, they look for God in the stable. The wise men get there and maybe they don't understand. How could the king be in a stable? But they say, well, God, you're in this. You led us here. God, you must be in here somewhere. Where are you? What have I got to learn from the stable? God, in this stable of life, where are you at this moment? Where are you? Now, the Bible is full of people like that. You've got people in the Old Testament like Joseph and Job and David. People who all went through great dreams and aspirations, but they didn't look like they were ever going to happen. And each and one of them never quit. They always believed that in the stables of life, they've got to look for God, because God is there in the prisons. God is there in the caves. God is there when it looks like he isn't. Looking for God. The Apostle Paul wrote a book called Philippians, and he wrote it from jail. He was in prison. And he writes it to the Philippians to cheer them up and encourage them in their faith and tell them to rejoice, and rejoice always. And again, I say rejoice. Why? Because he learned long ago as a wise man that in the most terrible stables, if we look for God, God is there. Now you see, weak Christians see God only in the good. The mature Christians see God in the good and the bad and the ugly. In the stable of life, we need to look for God. I had a man called Roy who was in the church I pastored in Toronto, and Roy came to faith in Jesus Christ. So by that I mean he was a good man, but he never personally prayed to ask Christ into his life. He had religion, but he didn't have a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. Maybe that's where you're at this morning. I don't know where you're at in your spiritual journey, but he had never personally made his commitment to Christ. And one day in a meeting no different than this, he prayed a prayer that you can pray. He said, I want to cross the line. I want to make sure I know Christ for myself. And he prayed to receive Christ. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to pray to receive Christ and make your own personal decision. And he came to me afterwards some years later and said, I want you to know my story. I had a young daughter, and my daughter was killed in a tragic accident, and I was angry at God. I shook my fist at God. And then I realized that as I was shaking my fist at God, I became a bitter and angry, cynical, hurting man. And I realized that in this tragedy of life, I had to look, and in look And that's when he came and he gave his life to Christ. And he found Christ in the stable of life. And he said, since, well, I miss my daughter terribly, at least now I know I will see her in heaven. And my life has changed, my marriage has changed. I have a peace and a power that comes from within that God has given me within my heart so that my life successfully. All because of that one experience. I don't know where you're at in your walk with God, but this morning, if you've never prayed Christ, and I hope you will, because in the stables of life, that's the moment to look for a God who loves, who forgives, who restores. Jesus said in John 14, he said this, verse 6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. Jesus is the way to live now and for eternity. He is the truth, meaning that it's absolute truth, that you can trust him. He is the life, meaning life worth living now. Jesus called it abundant life, fulfilling life, a meaningful life to live now and for all of eternity. And you can know that for yourself. Look for God in the stable of life. The second point number 2, is first to look for God in the stables of life. 2 is when you get to the stable, offer your very best. The wise men offer their very best to the stable. Now, if you stop and think for a moment, they didn't have to. They were disappointed. They thought, well, what's the point of giving gold, frankincense, and myrrh to a poor family? What's the deal here? They won't be that impressed. I mean, we can hold it back. We don't have to give our best. We can maybe give a little bit of gold and hide the rest. Give a little bit of incense, hide the rest. We don't have to give it all to the baby in the manger. But they gave, instead, they gave their all, their very best, as the stable of life. You know, that's not natural. When things don't go the way we want them to go, we're disappointed. We don't give our best. We often hold back. The marriage isn't going the way it should go. The relationship is strained. So instead of going the extra mile and going out of the way to love more and be more thoughtful, we usually don't. We pull back. We kind of step aside and we withdraw. The same in a job. The same in school. When we're going through disappointing moments, we instead of giving our best, we pull back. We don't do our best. I love the story of a fire, about starting a building, and it was on fire, and the mayor called the fire department came, and they looked at it, and they said, it's too intense, and we really can't put this on. They just weren't willing to give their best. They said, you know, it's an old building, and the mayor said, this is a historic landmark, these are huge buildings, this is a big area. So they kind of stood there with their hoses. Nothing was happening, and the mayor phoned a couple of other fire departments. They came along, and they too didn't try to get in. It was too dangerous. They just stood there with their hoses. The fire wasn't going to go out. It was a loose building. So you remember the mayor that there was a senior citizens home where there were some retired firefighters that had an old fire engine from way back when. And he called them up, and these seniors on their old fire engine came with a siren going, and they came right past the fire people, they came past the journalists, and they ran straight into the building. The whole truck went right into the plate of the building. And the old gentleman jumped out, and in a matter of time, they quickly turned the whole fire off, just like that. Well, the next day, they honored them with a big ceremony, gave a check to the senior citizen, and said, here is a check thanking you for giving your best, putting out the fire. What are you going to do with the money? He said, the old man said, we're going to put new brakes on the truck. New brakes on the truck. Parliament, we do put brakes on the truck. We're not willing to go in and do our best. We hold back. But you know the difference between people that succeed and don't? The 3 words, and then some. And then some. The people who are willing to forgive, and then some. The people that are willing to love, and then some. The people that are willing to give, and then some. To go the extra mile, and then some. And the third thing that we learn from the wise men, point number 3, is that they changed direction. It says that once they had found Christ, they didn't go back the way they came. They went back and by another route, because they now understood who Jesus Christ was and knew what Herod was all about. So now they were different. They went back by another route. Have you had that experience that changed your life? You follow the star, you end up in a stable, but the stable was the moment that God used to change the direction of your life. I had that. As a young businessman growing up in South America, the country of Argentina, and the city of Buenos Aires, a city of 13 million people, And I knew that there had to be more to life than what I was doing. I thought I was on the treadmill of life. I thought I couldn't get off the treadmill, but it was not satisfying and it didn't seem to be going anywhere. I felt like I was in a rat race and this seemed going to be the biggest rat. So I went to a church. It was not religious, was not brought up in church, was not brought up in a Christian home. No religious background. And I went to a little church in desperation, but then I felt empty. I felt like I'd fallen into the ended up in the stable. I'm sitting like you are this morning in a church back in South America. I heard for the first time that God loved us. That God said Jesus Christ had lived a sinless life and to die on the cross. And when he died on the cross, the Bible says that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And that it's not enough to know about God, or to know that God died on the cross for the sins of the world, but we need to make it personal. We need to make sure that we are included, that I make my personal decision. So in that pew, I prayed a prayer, and I don't know where you're at in your spiritual journey, but it helped me, so I'm telling you in the hope that it will help you this morning. I pray, God, you know how arrogant and proud and stubborn I am. Wishing you. Lord, I'm willing to surrender my life to you. I don't even know if you exist, but I invite you into my life, Lord Jesus Christ. I confess my sins and my weaknesses, my mistakes. Please forgive me. Be my Savior. Help me to live for you. And God honored that one prayer, that staple of my life, and God changed the direction of my life from then on. And I have seen hundreds, not thousands of people pray the same prayer and please God, just as I found peace with God. In Lake Benson, Minnesota, there was a young family, this illustration helped me, and I thought it will help you. A young family, and the father had died that year. And the mother was trying as a single parent to try to provide for the family. She was not making ends meet, and she was getting into debt. And so one day the son, the little boy, was asked by the mom if he would go to the store, the Ernie's store. They had to ask for fuel twice that winter. And so they owed $30. This is a few years ago. $30 was a lot of money. They owed $30 on credit to Ernie's store, a grocery store. And so the mother took an envelope, and in the envelope was a $10 bill, and pinned it on with a safety pin on the little boy's shirt. She didn't want to lose the $10. She said, go to Ernie's store, and please put $10 towards the $30 that we owe them before Christmas. So the little boy on his way to school went to Ernie's store, and Ernie took the little envelope off, sold the $10, and said, son, on your way back from school, come and I'll give you the receipt for the money. The way back from school, he came and took the envelope again. The man pinned it on his coat, and he went back home with the envelope. Mother took the envelope out and opened it and started sobbing, crying. Inside the envelope was the $10. And they were all the bills. They had all that they owed. On each one, paid it all.
He's doing pretty good.
Paid it all.
The other kids, the other two,
Paid it
screaming. He's gonna cry again.
That would be Gabrielle.
And then all of us have sinned. All of us don't measure up to God's standards. All of us have guilt and problems and failures and go through the cross and skeletons. All of us have. But God sent Jesus Christ to die in my place and yours. The Bible said he became sin for us. So when Christ died on that cross, he did our love for you and me, and he took the souls of the things, the fuel of his life, and as he put them, he was paid in full. Paid in full. But you know, that's why you need to pray. That's the difference. I can invite you to do that right now. I can invite you all to close your eyes and bow your heads and pray. Just for a few moments. I don't know where you're at in the spiritual walk, but if I can, this morning you have been searching.
I'm right now. She doesn't like you, but you my sister. She doesn't like you.
That this morning it will change the direction of your life forever. That you will leave here this morning.
And I do
with
home
joy.
care, so she's fine at
Well, I grow the environment, yeah.
And it is beautiful, not religious.
but
The Bible says, but the man who receives him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, even to those who believe in his name.
Well,
it's just not
I
like
personally think it's too much for little ones in the big side anyways. It's just
Religion. Simply
and I
pray.
couldn't, like that would be Gabrielle is getting worse and worse and worse crying, and I can't.
Does this prayer
I couldn't
represent
do
who
it.
I'd like you to pray it off with?
No, and actually you should. You know.
And I could actually
actually trying to call these parents.
Invite you into my life.
Oh, are they?
The one,
There's no number. No, have you pressed send? Because I actually looked at that thinking, oh,
yeah, okay, I'll go and.
Invite.
Pay the price for my sin in a way that I will never understand. This morning I accepted by faith.
Oh, nice to have expensive equipment standing around.
Thank you for loving me. I invite you into my heart to be my savior from this day
This is
on.
all I needed for the trash down. That's my daughter who did that.
Amen. Amen. If you prayed that for the first time, that little piece of paper that you fill into the CD drawer that you should have on the pew next to you, if you were to take a pen and put a little tick mark in one of the corners, good and clear, we will give you some material that will help you. It's totally free. It's the same material that was given to me when I gave my life
Here you
to
go.
Christ
It's on.
many years ago. And we would like to mail it to
Did
you.
they,
So please
you
put a
just
tick
didn't
mark
press send or
before you
whatever?
go.
I didn't. So when I went back, I went, oh, it's just I needed to press the main.
Yeah. I know, it's very funny, eh? Like, you don't do it
Well,
right, it just
if
doesn't.
you even worked it before, the directions are.
Yeah, I know, I've noticed that before, I was like, there we go. And as the child is quieter.
Yes.
We must continue to give our best to the glory of God. And number three, we should allow the stable experiences to teach us so they will change the direction of our lives. The wonder of the birth of Jesus Christ. The wonder of the wise man coming to see that baby. That the Savior was born to you, and he is Christ, the Lord. Reverend Carter was writing his sermon, his Christmas sermon, and he was busy and working hard at his sermon, and the matron, the lady in charge of the home in which he was, it was a school for disadvantaged children, mostly mentally handicapped children. The matron came in and said, Reverend Carter, Graham is under his bed, and he won't come out. Would you come? Reverend Carter left his sermon and went
Just a child who likes to talk.
on where the children were and to Graham's bed. You see, when Christmas came, some of the less handicapped were invited home. But the more